Tuesday morning, it's McCollum on Business. I'm Stephen McCollum, and for the next 30 minutes or so, I'm going to get you updated on what's happening around the business world. We got oil kind of stabilizing today. We'll talk about that after starting to rise earlier today. Of course, we got local and national stories that you need to know as well. Let's not delay it all. Let's get into it with that Market Watch. It's a pretty nice day on the market, with kind of the uncertainty that's happening around the world out there. And right now, the Dow Jones is up to 230 points to 54,177. The S&P 500 is up 8 points right now to 7762. The NASDAQ is the one that's down today, though, 21 points down right now to 26,583. Now, a lot of this has to do with oil prices stabilizing a little bit today as well. Then the small cap index, the Russell 2K, it's up 22 points right now to 3,040. Then there's Bitcoin, technically up today a couple hundred points, but trading at 64,135,000, and it's right where it's been settling at for the last several weeks here from that level. A story we're going to tell you about earlier or later on here in the show, I should say, was adversely affected by their cryptocurrency portfolio. We'll talk about that coming up here in this first segment as well. NVIDIA is very big in the news here this morning. They unveiled their first open source AI model, which obviously is going to be a competition here with the other AIs, and they're kind of leading the charge here. Intel is. NVIDIA is. We'll look at their stock later on in the program, but first we're going to look at one of their people making their stocks and chips for them as well. We're talking about Intel here. Big presence here in the Valley, down 1.21% right now as well. Well, yesterday we told you they were going to do $15 billion in a common stock offering. Well, they upped that amount to $20 billion. They raised it $5 billion for a common stock offering. Market didn't like the $15 billion. They're certainly not going to like the $20 billion stock offering as well. And, of course, Intel yesterday said, and they clarified it, the proceeds from that $20 billion sales would be used for, quote, general corporate purposes, unquote. Yesterday, there was a lot of talk, and probably so, that a lot of this money was going to go towards AI build-out for chips and things for the AI side of their business. Intel down 1.17% with that announcement yesterday. And then there's Hims and Hers Health, folks. The health department, the telehealth company is what they are technically known as. 4.38% down as of right now. Well, they trimmed the upper end of its full year EBITDA outlook. Well, they posted a net loss of 37 cents per share for quarter two. Well, they had a profit of 17 cents share just a year prior. So big losses here coming up for Hims and Hers Health. They're down 4.19% today based off of that news as well. And then another kind of local company that we deal with a lot around here in Arizona, First Solar is what we're looking at. They've been up. They were up over 3% earlier. Kind of a sell-off has happened, about halfway down, 1.59% up right now. Well, Baird, that investment company, upgraded First Solar to outperform. It was at neutral before. Baird hiked First Solar's price target on the shares. Right now, they're trading at $243.33. Baird hiked the price target to $318, which math tells you it's about a 30% upside is what we're looking at here, give or take with the market moving it today as well. So Baird very bullish on First Solar moving forward. And we know the solar stocks last week had a big uptick because of the restrictions put on Chinese imports on certain products for the solar side of things. And that looks like at least Baird's on board, the investment company Baird, on First Solar as well. When we come back later on and look at stocks, we're going to look at Plug Power. They're an electrical equipment manufacturing company is what they do. We're going to look at them. Riot Platforms, they're a crypto miner, folks. And then we're going to look at NVIDIA, who's being watched closely today out there with the announcement of they unveiled their first open source AI model. as well. So big changes here. Also, Nvidia lines up $500 billion in financing. Yeah. Um, the CEO of Nvidia is saying that their chips are investable asset as well for them. So everybody's kind of watching Nvidia with these words out there as well. So we'll take a look at their stock coming up. But, I told you the market's doing what it's doing today. And a lot of it's because oil prices kind of settled down here. They were on their way up again this morning early. Then they reversed their course here. Yeah, it started going down. Well, they were up about 2.5% early in their numbers. Brent crude oil ends up now down just a few pennies. It's at $87.61 a barrel. So still elevated, but not going up this morning as well. The U.S. benchmark crude, the U.S. West Texas Intermediate, it actually ticked up a couple cents to $82.19 a barrel for that. Yesterday, coming off a 5% increase on oil. That was after President Trump, kind of laughed at the demands from Iran that the U.S. pay for devastation, from the war, and was one of the conditions they were looking for to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, and no deal there yet. So yesterday, oil prices up 5%. Today, up early about 2.5%, and then settling back down and being at yesterday's number, at least as of right now. And that's kind of leading the market to be where it's at here today. And then we kind of got some business reporting out there as well. We're talking, of course, about the U.S. small business sentiment. Yeah, it increased to an 11th month high in July. Yeah, surge of shares of owners reporting plans to boost hiring, suggesting that last month's slump in those non-farm payrolls, well, that was probably temporary. Remember, we had a surprising uh, hiring number there, or jobs number, in that non-farm payroll report last Friday. But a lot of CEOs and a lot of companies saying, hey, no, we're hiring. Wait till you hear some of these numbers. This is the National Federation of Independent Business putting out this reporting. They came out and said this morning that a small business optimism index, it rose 2.4 points. It went to 99.8 last month, the highest level since August of 2025. It even surpassed its 52-year average of 98. The survey's uncertainty index, though, that was a problem. It increased 2 points and it went to 91. A lot of owners in this reporting saying they were not sure this was a good time to expand their business. All part of the uncertainty, right? Owners were also uncertain about capital expenditure plans. Everybody but the AI companies are holding back on expansion, or most people are. The AI companies, of course, are just, capital expenditure in the billion-dollar amounts. Now, the survey's employment index, it rebounded 1.9 points. It went to 102.1 following four straight monthly declines for that number. The share of owners planning to create new jobs over the next 3 months, it actually jumped 9 points to 20%. That's the highest level since October of 2022. Now, the problem is worker shortages, folks. Believe it or not, there's a lot of those worker shortages concerns out there. The share of owners reporting job openings that they could not actually fill, it increased 4 points. It went to 36%. That's the highest reading since June of 2025. These unfilled positions were for both skilled and unskilled labor, by the way. So it's encompassing everybody. The labor force has decreased by more than 1 million people this year alone. Right? Retirement's a big part of that, but let's face it, a lot of it being that a crackdown on illegal immigration by the government in this last year. Further declines are likely as hundreds of thousands of immigrants have lost their protected status. The NFIB study did show that labor quality or availability was small business owners' single most important problem in July. 27% identifying that as their main issue. That's the historical average on that is only 12%, and it's at 27% right now. They can't find workers to fill jobs on jobs they want to do. Now, the big hit areas with the labor shortage and availability, construction all the way to agriculture, those types of jobs. Labor availability dominated comments from owners in those two fields. Some of those owners said, quote, finding or having qualified skilled labor applicants is non-existent. Other people said the labor workforce is getting slim, and it seems like quality people are getting harder to find in those labor fields out there. Now, that's just the labor fields, right? Then you can get into the non-skilled labor, and same issues coming from that side. Reports of inflation is the most important problem. Well, it wasn't the most important problem anymore. It dropped for the first time this year. Only 14% of businesses are saying it was an issue, down 7 points just from the June listing of this reporting as well. The concern isn't inflation anymore. It's, can we fill jobs? Can we expand you can't expand your business if you don't have employees to do so, folks. And things. So we got those reporting hitting the market here, or the economy here today as well. And then President Trump's still trying to, keep the economy propped up here with the inflation uncertainty, the tariff uncertainty out there. President Trump did extend the waiver for 90 days. This is the extension here of the foreign ships are being able to transport goods, things like oil, fertilizers, fossil fuel products among U.S. ports. This is the Jones Act that was first waived back in March 17th, and it was waived so it would be easier to transport oil and refined fuels among ports, reducing price pressures after the start, of course, of the war with Iran at the end of February. The latest extension, in 90 days, it'll take effect on August 17th, and it actually suggests that the U.S. might be preparing for continued price pressures because of the Strait of Hormuz situation over there. Yeah. They're extending it because they don't know when that Strait of Hormuz problem is going to be fixed. Now, unlike previous extensions, the Pentagon will actually consult with maritime administrations. They're going to decide which voyages are exempt from the 1920 law, which the Jones Act is in that 1920s law. It's a subsection of it. The new waiver will only apply to cargo that are sourced of energy and commodities related to agriculture, which would mean fertilizers, soybean oil, and things of that like out there. So that Jones Act being extended again, that is a signal of trying to ease those energy prices where there could be no end in sight with those elevated energy costs out there. This is a way to kind of freeze it down a little bit. And, here at McCollum on Business, we don't get into politics too often. But boy, you got to love, and this is a business story, right? A recruiting story that goes into the politics side a little bit. And I just can't get enough of this. Regardless of your feelings on politics, gotta love one state's attacking or going after the jobs of another state out there. And right now, if you're in New York, I know we got some watchers in the New York area. I don't know if you're in Manhattan or in the boroughs, or if you're in North. It just tells me New York out there. But if you're in that heart of Manhattan, Times Square, yeah, Broadway and West 43rd Street, maybe look up a little bit there and see that massive new billboard that was just put up there. Yeah. It says, "Thanks for the jobs," is what it says, basically. Yeah. They named the governor of the mayor of New York City there, Mamdani. They named him the Economic Developer of the Year. Florida named him that, folks. And they put his picture and the award right there in the middle of his city there in Times Square. Yeah. America's facing what business leaders are calling a historic choice between free enterprise and expanding government control. Now we know Florida; they've taken that ideological fight, and they're expanding on their side with companies leaving California, New York, kind of those left wing blue states. They're leaving those states and moving to the red states, like Texas, for instance, Florida as well. And now Florida is going right at the doorstep there of what's happening in New York. Some would call it democratic socialism. Some call it communism. We don't get into those labels here at all. Armed with a $1.8 trillion economy and record-breaking wealth migration there in Florida, the Florida Chamber of Commerce has officially launched that Times Square's campaign naming Mayor Zohran Mamdani Florida's, quote, Economic Developer of the Year, end quote. I love these types of stories. Yeah. Of course, Florida's reminding New Yorkers of how progressive taxes and socialist policies are driving wealth, businesses, and families down to Florida. In addition to putting that on Mamdani, right? The Chamber's campaign highlights its argument that lower tax rates yield higher total state revenues by incentivizing growth, job growth, individual growth, etc. Blue state tax hikes trigger a tax-based exodus, is what Florida is claiming there in New York. So, according to Florida's chamber, citing IRS migration data, Florida gains approximately $2.4 million in net taxable income every hour. Well, New York, on the other hand, loses approximately $1.1 million per hour. Florida Chamber also says Florida gains a net 551 residents daily, compared to New York, who loses 115 residents daily. Pointing all of this out in Times Square. According to the Florida Chamber's press release, New York state budget is more than double Florida's. New York City's municipal budget alone is more than $8 billion higher than the entire Florida state budget out there. Right? So you have two competing economic ideas battling it out, well, in the heart of New York City. And I just love where they're doing it at there as well. And we know the growth. We know the expansion that Florida's been through with the big companies transferring there. Now it's being put there to the test. Can you imagine being the mayor of New York today as well out there? And look, it's all about Florida continuing to get work, businesses to transfer their headquarters, etc., down to Florida and getting more people to move down there as well. And here's a company we've used to follow frequently, and we haven't followed it all lately because it's been not very good here on the stock market. And, we're talking about Trump Media is what we're talking about, the parent company of True Social out there. Now, it's been kind of in the news lately because of some things it's doing with their announcements here over the last few days. We'll touch on that at the end here as well. But, in terms of their stock as a business, I've been struggling here a lot lately as well. Oh, well, Trump Media, they posted a massive loss in the second quarter. They did announce their plans to ditch new business lines. They had a bunch of ideas to go towards. They want to refocus as a forum for users to post their views, right? Started off as True Social platform, and they've expanded into other things that has lost them a lot of money, right? Trump Media and Technologies is the actual company name on the stock market. They said that they lost $238 million in the 3 months through June. It branched into businesses unrelated to media, which you don't do as a company, folks. One of the things they jumped into, crypto. And that has been a loser for them. And you follow this show, right? We tell you just what Bitcoin does. All the cryptos are way down as well from their highs. That's more than 10 times the loss from just a year earlier for Trump Media. The per share loss widened to 86 cents. It was at 8 cents last year. So in a conference call from the earnings release, there's a new chief executive for the company. His name's Kevin McGurn. He said a year-long effort to expand by branching into several new industries, things like online betting, crypto, where they're saying that those are basically going to be abandoned as the company is going to refocus the business on the social media mission. I mean, they went sideways. When companies start getting into other industries, first sign of trouble, in my opinion. Do what you're good at. Yeah. So the plan now with the thing that's in the controversy side that everybody's kind of complaining about. Part of this plan is a service called Truth API. It offers early access to Wall Street trading firms to top posters on the Truth Social platform. You know who the top poster is on Truth Social, folks? The president. So a lot of people are not happy about this out there because Trump has the most followers on Truth Social, and he moves markets by breaking major U.S. policy shifts on Truth Social itself. Now they want this Truth API people to buy access, and you'll get the Trump posts earlier than everybody else, which in theory will allow you to act on news on the stock market before the general public gets it out there. So there's some controversy going around that, of course, from that perspective. But that's one of the ideas out there they've come out with. But companies that break from what they are good at, if you're a real estate company, you're a real estate company. Don't go into something else. If you're a social media company, don't go into crypto and other things. You lose your butt usually, and that's what's happened with Trump Media as well. And when we come back here at McCollum Business, we keep the show rolling. You want to stop gambling if you have a gambling problem, or you don't have a problem, you just want to stop it because you feel like it. Well, some resources here in Arizona for you as well. We didn't talk about it much, but I was kind of reviewing Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary's visit to Arizona last week. We'll talk a little bit about what he had to say when he was here in Arizona, and a popular soda that's kind of gone by the wayside. When I was a kid, it was everywhere. 7-Up making some changes. We'll tell you about that coming up, folks. McCollum on Business. And we're back here. McCollum on Business. You just saw the commercial there for the Real Matrix. Every Friday at noon, a new episode comes out over on Rumble only, exclusive to Rumble there for the video portion. Rumble.com/user/TME Media is where you can find the programming. And now, of course, if you just go to Rumble and just search the Real Matrix Angry Patriot, it is in the Rumble search engine. You can find it there as well for you. Quick and easy. Of course, free podcast system for the Real Matrix. All of our shows, except for McCollum on Business, free podcast system. So just search the Angry Patriot, the Real Matrix. It'll come right up for you. Or, of course, the Pit Stop with Steven, it pops right up. The Main Event with Steven, the Main Event with Dale, pops right up for you in the free podcasting system. Apple, Google, Spotify, Rumble, Podchaser, Podbean. I'm forgetting a couple. I always do, right? Find the free podcast system and check it out there as well. But every Friday at noon, Rumble. Of course, there's 40 episodes up right now. Different subjects there of the Real Matrix. Not really time relevant. You can go back and watch any of them that interest you. They're on Rumble as well, or on the free podcasting systems. Check it out if you would. An Angry Patriot would greatly appreciate that. Of course, all of our programming is also on Rumble. We put everything up on demand over there, and we're live right now on YouTube. TME Media AZ is where you can find us on YouTube. We're live at 7 a.m. for McCollum on Business. We go right into being live on YouTube at 8 a.m. as well, 8 to 10 a.m. If you can't catch us live on the YouTube, well, catch us on demand later in the day on YouTube. All of our programming, including the Pit Stop, which comes out on Wednesdays by 2 o'clock, right there on YouTube if you can't catch us live, and free podcast systems. And, folks, we appreciate you guys joining us as well. And we'll keep it rolling here, right? Let's not delay it anymore. We have a good day on the market. Let's get into that Market Watch. And that's continuing to be the day out there. Only thing down, well, it's the NASDAQ here today. It's everything is just kind of unchanged is how I would phrase it. With oil prices stabilizing, and some stocks are dominant, like NVIDIA, which is the stock we're going to look at here coming up. But just there today. Dow Jones up 86 points right now. S&P 500's up to 3 points. So the NASDAQ's the one that's down. It's 21 points down as of right now. The Russell 2K small cap index is up 19 points right now for that. And then Bitcoin, the big tumble down here, right? It was up 200 and something points when we looked at it earlier. down under 64,000 now, 63,916,000 for Bitcoin right now. And Plug Power is the first stock that we're going to look at here in this segment. Electrical equipment manufacturing is what they do. 4.27% up here today. They reported a smaller than expected loss for the second quarter. They were up 13% in pre-market trading. Here right now at 4.27%. The pre-market number is what caught my attention this morning here as well, but smaller than expected loss. Market is responding positively for Plug Power here on this Tuesday. And then there's a crypto miner called Riot Platforms is what we're going to look at next. 8.74% up right now as well. Well, pre-market, these guys are 20% up in the pre-market side. Market open, and you see they've settled down to 8.97%. Their second quarter revenue topped analyst expectations. Riot's top line clocked in at $174.2 million. Analysts were expecting $154.3 million. They blew away their revenue number, folks, as well. The company announced a 191 megawatt data center lease deal with a leading frontier AI lab is how they phrased it. Riot Platforms, big day today here, 8.71% up as of right now. And then finally, our last stock is going to be NVIDIA here today as well. I told you earlier in the show, we're going to look at them. 1.08% up here. Has come down as the day has gone on as well. But Wall Street, NVIDIA first open source AI model was unveiled. And also they've secured $500 billion in financing. The CEO there, Wang, he said that their chips are an investable asset moving forward there as well. So Wall Street, very happy about that AI concept that NVIDIA is going into, the unveiling of the first open source AI model. The market's liking that. It's all the talk here on all of the business sites here as the morning has gone on as well. So NVIDIA is up 1.05% here today as well. And let's get into some local stocks here. And speaking of, we weren't really, but gambling, it's a legal thing now. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry, legal and illegal, but mainly it's a multi-billion-dollar legal entity here in Arizona. And some people, obviously, are losing a lot of money in gambling. You don't go on these sites and win a ton of money because you're not on them, because they will kick you off if you win too much. Now, the Arizona Department of Gaming is now offering free financial counseling service for people enrolled in that state's self-exclusion program that is out there to help you out. 1-800, I think it's 1-800 or 1-888-GET-HELP, if I remember correctly. Arizona previously offered financial counseling only for gamblers enrolled in a treatment assistance program. The counseling service, though, has expanded through a partnership with GameFin. It specializes in advising people with gambling debts. The state recently increased its program's budget to get people help to get out of the bad habits of gambling. If you're gambling more than you can lose, etc. Last fiscal year, 651 Arizona residents enlisted in that self-exclusion program here in Arizona. That's the highest total ever of people going into that program. And they're expanding it, and rightfully so. If you're going to have legalized gambling, you've got to protect people that realize they have a problem and to get their help. Gambling, like drugs and alcohol, even though you can hurt other people with that, you're damaging yourself mainly. Gambling is a big entity here. You can ruin lives and families, etc., a ton, just like those other drugs and alcohol stuff can as well. You've got to have the programs available out there if you're going to, take the tax revenue from it, in my opinion. Hey, the sell it and go story, it might not be over. Over the weekend, we found out that an Arkansas-based drive-through coffee chain, there are two of them here in the Valley right now, from Seven Brew is the company. Well, they're going to contest the Sell It and Go sale of those 65 closed locations to Dutch Bros. That was announced last week as well. Excuse me, I got the hiccups all of a sudden. Now, if you remember, Salad and Go, everybody lost their mind. Salad and Go entered the Chapter 11 bankruptcy progress process last week, and they had a deal in place to sell and transfer the real estate and leases of 65 of its locations to Dutch Bros. Now, that's unique that they negotiated that deal before they filed for the bankruptcy. It is a unique move, and out of bankruptcy. And usually it goes to an open auction process and then they're sold off. Tell and Go went ahead and did the process beforehand with Dutch Bros. Now, all the locations, about 70 in Arizona and Las Vegas, were actually sold as well, or actually closed by Salad and Go. 51 to 60, I've seen varying numbers there, are supposedly, have a deal to go to Dutch Bros as well. This is the deal where Dutch Bros will pay $105 million to buy the buildings and transfer the leases to their company. But Dutch Bros already paid $10 million as a deposit. Now they just got to wait on the judge's side of things. Now, Salad and Go, in its bankruptcy filing, said it held an extensive search for potential buyers. And they said because of Salad and Go's stores being unique, 800 square feet, up to 1,000 or 1,500 square feet is what they are. Obviously no dine-in seating. It's a drive-up site and everything. They said only a few operators could utilize the sites without incurring the material costs, delay, or permitting risk associated to reconfigure the premises out there. And that's why they said it's set with Dutch Bros. But reportedly, Severn Brew was saying, we offered more than Dutch Bros did. Bankruptcy courts only care about one thing. How much money can you get for the assets? So there might be a battle here for these 50 things. And an outside company from Arkansas, they have two here. So there are two Severn Brews already here in the Valley. But they could have a rapid expansion coming up here if they win this battle against Dutch Bros out there for those Salad and Go locations. And I know he was in town last week. We didn't talk about it here on the show. I got some info on it. I know he toured Frito-Lay down in Casa Grande. He, of course, talked about the semiconductors. So I want to give you the update here because Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent did come to Arizona last week. He wanted to spotlight President Trump's economic agenda, and he went down, as I said, to the Frito-Lay manufacturing plant down in Casa Grande. He said the White House also has its eye on another thing about Arizona, and that's our semiconductor industry that we've grown here as well. What he said about the semiconductor industry is, quote, those are going to be high-paying, skilled jobs from maintaining the fabs, the factories, maintaining the fabs all the way to the precision jobs. That's going to be very powerful for the state, is what he was saying about the semiconductor industry. Now, as you know, those of you that have been in Arizona a long time, the semiconductor industry, deep roots here in Arizona, right? Motorola's arrival into Phoenix back in 1949. They established the state's electronic and semiconductor sector way back then. Intel came in the late 70s. I believe it was 1979 when it opened its fab plant in 1979, 1980 timeframe. And then obviously under the Biden administration with the CHIPS Act, we saw a huge boom in semiconductor there as well. The TSMC buildings with everything around that as well. Big things here as well. So the Trump administration taking notice here of Arizona with our manufacturing and semiconductor side of it here in the Valley. So much so the Treasury Secretary came to Arizona and paid attention to us last week out there. And now, 7-Up, when I was a kid, it was like everybody drank 7-Up. You don't see it very many places now, and they say it's still a popular soda brand. I think haven't a lot of people moved over to Sprite? It's just availability is a big issue, in my opinion, on the two. But 7-Up is getting a new look and a new taste as well, folks. That's right, 7-Up. What was the best ad campaign ever out there? Of course, 7-Up, yours. That was so great. Back in the day, it debuted a fresh look, 7-Up did, for its beverage lineup. They revealed that their signature product, 7-Up, it's been reformulated with a lime-forward profile. Look at the can there. If you notice the difference, it says lime lemon on the top of it. Big letters that stand out now as well. 7-Up's owned by Keurig Dr. Pepper. They revealed these changes coming up here. They did it yesterday. They say that the new formula will feature lime more prominently, to the point that they're labeling the sodas lime lemon as opposed to the lemon lime description normally used for the category. Yeah, they're trying to stand out from this category with the new lime lemon designation. So 7 Up explained that it wants a soft drink that tastes that likes to describe itself as an original uncola. Well, they want it to embrace an identity that'll allow it to stand out in the beverage aisle and call the moves the biggest shift for the product in more than 15 years. It is dangerous. Ask Pepsi, ask Coke. New Coke, right? New Pepsi. It is dangerous to reformulate and bring out new versions of the show. Adding flavors is one thing. Changing a formula is completely different as well. Now, the new formula will extend past regular 7 Up. It's going to go into zero sugar, cherry zero sugar variations as well. It's going to be again rolling out this month alongside the new Flip the Sip marketing campaign that they're coming out with. The company hopes its latest formula will prove to be the recipe to reach a younger demographic, and that's the key. Younger demographics don't like the current version of 7 Up. Yeah. The taste preferences of Gen Z apparently are, and Gen Alpha, the younger generation, they're described by its State of Beverages 2026 report came out. And these younger generations are literally affecting the way these companies make their drinks moving forward as well. So there's reports out there. They do studies with this younger generation that, like I said, they tell them what they don't like about it and what they do like. And these large multi-conglomerates are coming out and changing their flavors because of the younger generation who aren't currently buying their products. 7 Up is the newest one to do it there. Lime Lemon 7 Up. New flavor, new category, new formula, more importantly. This is dangerous here, right? Those of us old enough remember, Clear Pepsi. Remember that? New Coke and everything. People don't generally favor those big changes and stuff to that effect as well. So out there. So it is Ethan says the Gen Z and Gen Alpha run the stores. Yeah, that it's actually becoming that truth. Companies are changing it. Now, they could have kept the old formulation of 7 Up, but they're just getting rid of it altogether and doing this new formulation. Woo, let's see how this works out for 7 Up out there, folks. Hey, when we come back tomorrow, 7 a.m., of course, we're here Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. As long as markets are open, come and join us, would you? Of course, we're going to roll into the main event next. All of our programming on demand after we get done with the live shows here at 10 o'clock with the main event. We'll be on demand on YouTube as well as Rumble. Come and join us if you would. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody. Have a great Tuesday afternoon.